Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. We're going to talk about Everton today. Everton have released a strong and very good statement regarding the European Super League and specifically condemning the plans of those 6 clubs in the current English League who have decided that they want to break away and create their own super unbelievable, brilliant league that they think is going to be dead great. Everton were, I believe, the first Premier League club, certainly the first of my knowledge, to come out and condemn these plans, and they have written a strongly worded and quite frankly a statement that has made me, and I'm sure everybody watching this live stream, and if you're not watching the live stream, just every Evertonian on this planet, very proud to be a Blue today. And I said this yesterday, and I said it when we were talking about the European Super League, and when there was a lot of fans from different clubs saying, oh, if your club was invited, you'd jump on it, you'd join, blah blah blah. And I openly said a couple of times, no, Everton wouldn't. Everton know their fan base. Everton know how important our club is to the community. Everton know how important and how rich the history of the Football League is. Not just the Premier League, but the English Football League, the football pyramid. Everton wouldn't have jumped on that opportunity. Everton majority shareholder Farhad Moshiri has come out and spoken about his disgust at the plans today on TalkSport as well, but it all started this morning when Everton released this very strongly worded statement, and a statement that, like I said, has made myself and I'm sure everybody watching very proud to be an Evertonian. Do you know what, before I read the statement, there's been times in my life, 22 years of my life supporting this football club, and there's been times when I've been upset, there's been times when I've been angry, there's been times when I've been frustrated, there's been times when I've been happy, when I've been elated, when I've been unbelievably made up, but there's never ever been a time, even when we've lost silly games, even when we've lost Merseyside derbies, even when we've been kicked out of European Cups, and you know we've lost in the group stage, etc. There's never ever been one point where I haven't felt proud to be an Evertonian. There's never been one day where I've woken up on this planet and thought I'm ashamed to support the football club I support. Yes, I've woken up angry. Yes, I've woken up frustrated. Yes, I've woken up annoyed because of the results in the previous night or whatever. But there's never ever been a night or a morning, should I say, sorry, where I've woken up and I've felt ashamed to be an Evertonian. And today, over most mornings, I think we're all waking up feeling as proud as ever to support the football club that we to support, and for the football club that we to support to stand up against this absolute monstrosity that is the Super League. So anyway, let's get into Everton's written statement. It's titled Statement from the Board, and it reads as followed. It's quite long, so you'll have to bear with me if you haven't read it already. I'm sure you've already seen it. There's a lot of footballers, a lot of ex-footballers, both related to Everton and not related to Everton, who are coming out and basically agreeing with Everton. There's a lot of football fan channels and chats from all the different clubs that are involved in the new Super League who have also come out and but basically applauded Everton for the statement. So it says, statement from the board: Everton is saddened and disappointed to see proposals of a breakaway league pushed forward by 6 clubs acting entirely in their own interest, 6 clubs tarnishing the reputation of our league and the game, 6 clubs choosing to disrespect every other club with whom they sit around the Premier League table, 6 clubs taking for granted and even betraying the majority of football supporters across our country and beyond. At this time of national and international crisis and a defining period for our game, clubs should be working together collaboratively with the ideas of our game and its supporters uppermost. Instead, these clubs have been secretly conspiring to break away from a football pyramid that has served them so well. And in that pyramid, Everton salutes every, and that word is capitalised and in bold, every club, be it Leicester City, Accrington Stanley, Gillingham, Lincoln City, Morecambe, Southend United, Notts County, and the rest, who have, with their very being, enriched the lives of the supporters throughout the game's history, and vice versa. The self-proclaimed Super Six appear intent on disenfranchising supporters across the game, including their own, by putting the very structure that underpins the game we love under threat. The backlash is understandable and deserved and has to be listened to. The preposterous arrogance is not wanted anywhere in football outside of the clubs that have drafted this plan. On behalf of everybody associated with Everton, we respectfully ask that the proposals are immediately withdrawn and that the private meetings and subversive practices that have brought our beautiful game to possibly its lowest ever position in terms of trust end now. Finally, we would ask the owners, chairman and board members of the 6 clubs to remember their privileged position they hold, not only as custodians of their clubs, but also custodians of the game. The responsibility they carry should be taken seriously. We urge them all to consider what they wish their legacy to be. And that was from the Everton Board of Directors. And when I read that statement today, the emotion just absolutely flooded through me, because I was just filled with pride. I was just filled with sheer happiness that my football club isn't one of these football clubs ran by a greedy billionaire, should I say rather, who only has their own interests at heart. And Everton's statement there was spoken about, like I said, by a lot of different football clubs and a lot of different football fans. And the statement says clubs, and it refers to Liverpool, Man United, Manchester City, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea as clubs, and they are clubs. I think what Everton mean by that statement is the owners of those clubs. I think some fans might have taken a little bit of offence by the fact that it states that they're clubs, because ultimately, at the end of the day, clubs are fans. Football fans are a big part of those football clubs, and they haven't had a say on it whatsoever. So I think Everton, obviously, within this statement, are meaning to say that it's the owners of these clubs rather than it being the club itself. And yeah, like I said, it's a strongly worded statement, a statement that makes me so proud to be an Evertonian. And a statement that ultimately, I think we've all woken up and read and thought, yeah, do you know what? That's absolutely spot on. And it also throws out this ridiculous idea of certain fans, and it is only the minority. I've got a lot of respect for a lot of fans from Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, who I've seen over the last 24 hours, who are coming out and condemning these plans and saying, don't worry about anybody else, focus on our own club, because it's our own club and our own owners that have tried to make this happen and tried to ruin football forever. So there's a lot of fans that have come out and said things like that, and I respect them, but there is a minority of fans of those 6 clubs who maybe, and I said this yesterday, I don't think they agree with the European Super League, and I don't even think they agree with what they're saying. I just think they get defensive of their football club. There's a big, popular Arsenal fan, who I'm sure a lot of you will know, and if you've seen his tweets, you'll definitely know of him, who decided to come out and try and deflect the blame away from Arsenal by saying if Everton were invited, they'd have accepted it and they'd have been taken in. Well, it's quite ironic that he said that at the same time that Farhad Moshiri come out and said what I'm just about to say he said, which was completely and utterly, saying that it's disgusting and it's against everything that football stands for. But also what all that is doing is just trying to deflect the blame and trying to deflect the responsibility onto somebody else, rather than actually looking at your own football club and saying, you know what, doesn't really matter who else would have joined if they'd have been invited. It's not about that they weren't invited and they haven't joined. It's about our football club and what we've done wrong. And like I said it in yesterday's live stream. I don't think any of these fans or any of these fans that are coming out and saying stuff like, oh, you'd have joined if your football club would have been offered it, I don't think any of them truly believe that. Like I said, they're just getting defensive of it. And I know, because if Everton were one of those clubs and every football fan in the world was going at Everton, I'd be the same. I'd be sitting here on the channel having a go at Everton. But I do know that there'd be Everton fans somewhere, where that'd come out and that'd say, they'd come out and they'd say, ultimately, don't have a go at our football club, blah, blah, blah. Your club would do the same. There has been a statement just now from the Premier League regarding this, so we'll keep you up to date. Doug sent me it on Twitter. Big thanks, Doug, for sending me that. This is from the Premier League. It says the 14 clubs at the meeting unanimously, vigorously rejected the plans, considering all actions available to prevent it from progressing, as well as holding those shareholders involved to account under its rules. The full statement reads as followed. The Premier League, alongside the FA, met with clubs today to discuss the immediate implications of the Super League proposal. The 14 clubs at the meeting unanimously and vigorously rejected the plans for the competition. The Premier League is considering all actions available to prevent it from progressing, as well as holding those shareholders, those shareholders involved to account under its rules. The league will continue to work with key stakeholders, including fan groups, government, UEFA, the FA, EFL, PFA, and LMA, to protect the best interests of the game and call on those clubs involved in the proposed competition competition to cease their involvement immediately. The Premier League would like to thank fans and all stakeholders for their support they have shown this week on this significant issue. The reaction proves just how much our open pyramid and football community means to people. And again, I think that's an absolutely spot on statement there from the Premier League. I do want to talk about the Premier League because I don't think they're completely and utterly innocent in this whole situation. We spoke yesterday about how this is certainly six from the Premier League, greedy billionaires who just want to break away and make as much money as possible without even thinking about the fans or caring about the fans or caring about the history of the football club and the football league. But I also do think that this issue has been coming for a long time. This isn't something that's just completely come out the blue against everybody's wishes and wills. This is something that will have been spoken about an awful lot before and ultimately is being generated through the ridiculous and sickening amount of money that is involved in football in this day and age. And that ridiculous and sickening amount of money has been brought in by people that were allowed to bring it in, and the Premier League allowed to take over these football clubs. The Premier League knew full well that the Glazers haven't got a clue about football. They knew full well that John W. Henry, first and foremost, is an American businessman who owns a baseball club. He doesn't have a clue about the sport of football whatsoever. Neither does the majority of the rest of them that have put these proposals forward. But they still allowed that to happen because of the money that was being brought in to this league. So it's the Premier League, by the way, UEFA, FIFA, they're not all innocent in this situation whatsoever. They've all had their matches, and over the last 10, 15, 20 years, they've all lit their matches up, and ultimately it's just now somebody's poured petrol over those matches, and it's now become this big giant situation. But we'll get into that in a second. I want to talk about Farhad Moshiri because we're talking about Everton today, because Everton Football Club have once again, Everton are the leaders in a lot in English football history. We were the creators of a lot of different things, be it undersoil heating, be it lighting of football matches, built 2 stadiums, about to build our third stadium. And like I said, all of those fans that maybe decided to try and deflect some of the backlash on their football clubs by saying if your football club was in the situation, they'd do the same. At that point, when they were saying that yesterday, there was still that question mark. I come out on the stream and I come out on Twitter and I said it to me mates. I come out and said that I don't think Everton would. In fact, I think I said on this stream yesterday, round about the same time now, I'd put my house, and I don't even own a house, on if Everton were invited to turn round and say no. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what Everton would say. It doesn't matter if Everton weren't invited. Everton weren't invited, and Everton wouldn't be invited. So any football fan of those 6 clubs that's saying, well, if your club was invited, it'd be different, you're simply just deflecting blame. And this is a period where we all need to come together. I know as an Evertonian that if this was the other way round and fans from different clubs were flying in at Everton and screaming at Everton and this, that and the other, I'd sit here and say, hang on, it's not Everton. I'm Everton. I represent Everton. Phil represents Everton. Big Nozza represents Everton. Stephen represents Everton. Gort represents Everton. El Tuzo represents Everton. Hernandez represents Everton. We as a fan base represent, Creepy Boy represents Everton. We as a fan base represent Everton Football Club. Those billionaire owners do not represent their football clubs. So I understand that. I understand that fans are maybe feeling a little bit hard done by because their club that they've invested so much time, so much money, so much energy into is being ridiculed, and they feel like they've sort of been hard done by that. I get that. I do get that. But I always felt in my heart, no, if Everton were offered, they wouldn't take it at all. Everton are rich in history. Everton understand. We're one of the founding members of the Football League in the 1800s, when there was no football, when there was no, money involved, when there was no rich billionaire owners. Everton were one of the founding members of the Football League. We would have never accepted this proposal, and I get that that's easier said than done, but this proves it. That statement I've just read out proves it there. Absolutely 100%. It shows that our football club is in touch with us as fans, and that's special in this day and age. That is special because, look, you won't find there'll be a lot of them in the Premier League at the moment, but it's very, very difficult to find a football club that have got one of the best managers in the world, that have got the backing of a financial owner, which I know, again, we spoke about that yesterday, a backing of a financial owner who's willing to invest a lot of money into Everton, but still understand and appreciate what Everton are as a football club and what Everton believe in and what Everton stand up for in a football club. And that's been proven with these 6 clubs, by the way. Their fans, their history says one thing, and their owners have just completely thrown all of that to the wolves for something completely different, and that's to make more money. I'm so lucky. We're so lucky to support a football club who are able to compete at the top of the Premier League, or in and around the top of the Premier League, are able to bring in one of the best managers ever, are able to constantly compete at that high level, and yet still understand their fans, yet still sort of not down with the fans. That makes it sound like, oh, you're down with the kids, but are still sort of, again, understand what the fans want and what the fans would stand for and what they wouldn't stand for, and that statement reads it completely. We will get in the comments, by the way, in a moment. I think it's really interesting to get everybody's thoughts on this. If you're enjoying, by the way, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, don't forget to share the channel. Farhad Moshiri was on TalkSport this morning, reiterating everything that the Everton Board of Directors statement has said. He has said that, he was asked on TalkSport whether he would ever consider joining the European Super League. So this is the big question that everybody wanted to know. Oh, if Farhad Moshiri was asked, Everton would have joined. If Everton were asked, they would have joined. Well, this is the question. Farhad Moshiri was asked, would Everton ever consider joining the European Super League? He said never. This is against the idea of British football. He also said these are 6 clubs attacking the very heart of the Premier League, and they should be disciplined. Again, you feel proud reading the statement. You feel proud, listening to Everton as a football club and coming out and, reading a statement from the board of directors. But then when the billionaire, your billionaire owner, because we've got a billionaire owner, let's not hide away from it. We had a couple of people in the comments yesterday saying, oh, you're a hypocrite, Everton have got a billionaire owner, and this, that, the other. We have got a billionaire owner. We've been backed. Farhad Moshiri's put hundreds of millions of pounds into Everton Football Club in recent years. Do I agree with that much money being in football? No, I absolutely don't. But if that much money is in football, and that much money has been allowed to be put in football, and in order for Everton to compete at the top of the league and the highest level, we have to keep up with the spending of everybody else. Now, we can do that without being completely and utterly greedy and wanting to destroy the sport. It seems like the owners of some other clubs can't do that without being completely and utterly greedy and wanting to destroy the sport. But Farhad Moshiri coming out there and saying, we'd never ever join the European Super League. It goes against everything that British football stands for. He thinks the teams that have agreed to it should be punished. It just reiterates how much Farhad Moshiri understands Everton Football Club, and that's vitally important, that is, because what's been evidently clear in the last 24 hours above anything is that John W. Henry doesn't understand Liverpool, and he doesn't understand Liverpool fans. Joel Glazer and the Glazers don't understand Manchester United, and they don't understand Manchester United fans. Roman Abramovich doesn't understand Chelsea, and he doesn't understand Chelsea fans. Daniel Levy, or whatever his name is, Stan Kroenke, doesn't understand Arsenal fans and doesn't understand Arsenal Football Club. The history of those football clubs has been thrown to the wall and completely and utterly destroyed because their owners do not care and do not understand. And what's become evidently clear this morning is that Farhad Moshiri cares and Farhad Moshiri understands our football club, and he understands not just our football club, but he understands what's right and what's wrong. It's not hard here. This isn't difficult. This isn't like a rocket science here. It's not like you've got a green wire and a red wire, and if you clip the wrong one, it's going to blow up. It's not hard. Farhad Moshiri understands what's right and what's wrong in this world, and he understands that this European Super League proposal is wrong for football. I mean, go and listen, to go and have a read of some of the things that Florentino Perez is coming out and saying. I think he's the chairman of this new Super League. He's the chairman of Real Madrid, or he's certainly, he's the owner of Real Madrid or something like that. Go and have a little look at what he's saying over the last 24 hours about football. It's an utter nonsense. He's come out and said people under the age of 24 don't like football. Well, I'm 22 years old. I've been an Everton fan all my life. I've been a season ticket holder for a decade. I've loved football since the moment I walked into Goodison Park, since the moment I owned my first Everton kit. I've been obsessed with football. He also has come out and said we need football games to be shorter. They're too long. When people play, video games, they're not that long. Well, obviously, because no one's going to sit here and play FIFA for an hour and a half on one game. That's just the sheer basis of a video game. The games are shorter, so you get more in, and you don't have to sit there for hours and hours on end. Some of the things that Florentino Perez is coming out and saying are quite frankly mind-blowing, mind-boggling. And these billionaires I've gone into an agreement with him and basically agreed with everything that he's saying, obviously, because it's all been discussed before. Apparently, there's a lot of rumours now over the last sort of couple of hours or so. What a couple of journalists coming out and saying there's 2 or 3 clubs, certainly 2 Premier League clubs, that maybe feel a little bit hard done by now and feel like they've been sold down the river a bit and they've not been told the complete story. And I think the word was used, effed over. So there's a few journalists coming out and saying that, there's a couple of Premier League clubs, I think it was Man City and Chelsea, who were having second thoughts about it. There was then, another journalist who come out and said, no, he didn't directly say, no, that's nonsense, but he basically said that every club that signed up is still fully committed to doing it. There's been a CEO at a major Premier League club who's involved, one of those major 6 Premier League clubs. We don't know which club, but we just know that a major figure in one of those 6 clubs has come out and said, you won't stop us doing it, we're going to do it, no end, no guessing through who that is. I can guarantee it's 1 or 2 people. There's other rumours coming out and saying Liverpool and Manchester United were the 2 clubs that sort of pushed for it from the England standpoint, and everybody else just joined onto it. So yeah, again, much like it was yesterday, much like it was on Sunday night, everything is up in the air, really, at the moment. Everything is up in the air and nobody really sort of understands what's going on. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's disgusting. It's disgraceful. We spoke about it yesterday. It's very, very literally destroying the sport of football, but I'm so immensely proud to support a football club like Everton, who have come out and not only written such a strongly worded statement to condemn these plans and to, quite frankly, call out these disgusting owners of these football clubs that do not care about the Football League, do not care about the history of the Football League, do not care about the fans. It makes me so proud and gives me such a warm feeling to support a football club who understand that, who understand the history of the league, who understand us as a fan base, who understand us as a community. Just on Liverpool for a second, and I'm saying this not to have a go at Liverpool, by the way. I'm not having a go at the football club, because I get that their fans feel the exact same, and I know there's been a lot of Liverpool fan channels and fan chats and fans on Twitter who have applauded Everton's statement. But not to have a go at Liverpool, but how damning is it that I can only say this as a Scouser, born and bred Scouser, and I know there'll be born and bred Scousers in the chat as well. How damning is it that Liverpool as a city that was built by the working class, a city that was built for us as working class people to work our arses off and get what we deserve, which is a game of footy at the end of the week. Liverpool as a football club was built on that sheer feeling and basis of that. It's us against everybody. We're the working class. We stand together against everybody. Liverpool is a club that were attempted to be destroyed and have had such a I don't want to say a negative relationship, but basically being as much anti-conservative as you can be in this world. Liverpool as a city are as much anti-conservative as you can possibly be, and yet these owners have come and done arguably the most conservative thing possible and just gone, yeah, all we care about is the money. And I know I'm not trying to bring politics in it, because I don't know the half about politics whatsoever, but what the owners of Liverpool Football Club have done is gone against every single model that Scousers believe in and that the people of this city believe in. And that's why Liverpool fans feel so hurt, not only because it's their football club and because they've thrown away the history of their football club, but because the owners have gone against everything that this city stands for, everything that Scousers stand for. They've gone completely against it. And it's disgusting, it's vile. Anyway, let's get into some of the live comments then, before we further talk about Everton. Like I said, Farhad Moshiri there coming out, condemning the plans, saying that Everton would never join the European Super League, saying that it's disgusting and the 6 clubs that have agreed to it shall be punished severely. Everton as a club coming out and releasing a statement saying it's selfish, it's preposterous, it's disgusting, and a really, really strongly worded statement that I think we all read today with a lot of pride. And like I said, there's never been one day where I've woken up not proud to be an Evertonian. I've woken up upset, I've woken up fuming, I've woken up annoyed, but there's never been one day where I've woken up and thought, oh, I wish I supported another football club. And today was more so than other. I woke up thinking I'm incredibly, incredibly proud to support and to have been brought up supporting the club that we are, because we are a truly special club. I've said it before, mightn't be the best team in the world, mightn't be have the best players in the world, but we truly are the greatest football club in the world. And this isn't just an Everton, this is an Everton fan channel, so that's why I'm discussing Everton specifically. But I think a lot of other clubs have come out and you know, spoke about this. I think Bolton Wanderers come out and spoke about it. I think there's other Premier League clubs that have come out. I think Burnley might have come out and spoke about it. There's a lot of clubs. Steve Parish of Crystal Palace come out and spoke about it on Monday Night Football last night. There's a lot of football clubs who have come out now and spoke against these plans and against this project, and it's brilliant to see that. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do it. That like button only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you could share the live stream, it would mean a massive amount to me. It only does take a second as well. We did do a couple of live streams on this yesterday. We talked about how it could affect Everton's European chances and chances to finish in a European competition. We also spoke about, well, we had a little bit of a rant about the Super League in general, and we done a little game review to the Spurs game as well. So if you're wanting to just listen to Everton stuff and Everton news and the game review to that Spurs game is up now to watch. But stick with us for this one. We've got a lot more to talk about on today's team before we finish up. Let's get into some of the live comments then. Before we do that, I can't seem to be able to get involved in the live comments because for some reason my chat has broken. I don't know why, but it's broken and it won't let me scroll up. Let me try and see what I can do here. See if I pop it out, does that work? I don't know. Yeah, here we go. Keeper Boy says, hi, I'm in school, don't normally do this, but we're allowed on our phones. Make sure you don't get caught, mate. El Tuzo says, Everton, the People's Club, is right. Dugout Football Channel, what's happening, Dougie? Says, Jordan Henderson has just called an emergency meeting of the 20 Premier League captains to discuss their anger towards the European Super League. Yes, respect to Jordan Henderson, respect to Pep Guardiola, respect to James Milner. The three of those people, all prominent figures in English football, by the way, have come out over the last 24 hours. James Milner come out yesterday in his post-game interview after the Leeds game and said, I hope it doesn't happen and I don't agree with it. Jordan Henderson's now called a meeting with the Premier League captains to discuss this. And Pep Guardiola come out basically in his press conference before, I think, and said, look, if there's no competition, it's not a sport. If you're not angry when you lose, then it's pointless. If you're not elated when you win, it's pointless. So fair play to Jordan Henderson, fair play to James Milner, fair play to Pep Guardiola, fair play to everybody that has got, fair play to Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, who both again come out last night and just absolutely ripped it to bits, ripped the owners to bits, ripped the proposal to bits. Fair play to everybody, because look, it's important that we as fans stick together and we as fans come, join against this and talk about our disgust. And it is important because we the fans are the massive, but it's also important that those prominent figures in football, i.e. the players, the managers, the pundits, who are the same as us in terms of that they're fans of the sport, they're fans of football clubs, they're embarrassed by their football clubs, certainly the ones that are involved in the six clubs anyway, but also they've got a lot more power than the everyday fan. Me talking on a live stream to maybe a couple of hundred people, it might get a couple of hundred views, 1,000 views, is great, and I'm always going to come out and say my opinion, and that's brilliant. But Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher would have been speaking for millions of people yesterday. James Milner would have been speaking directly down that camera to John W. Henry. Jordan Henderson, as the captain of Liverpool Football Club, will be speaking directly to John W. Henry. And by that, I don't mean a direct conversation, but what I'm saying is me doing this live stream here and everyone getting involved, and I really do appreciate everyone getting involved. It means a massive amount to me, honestly. It really, really does. But none of those 6 Premier League owners are going to see this live stream. None of those 6 Premier League owners are going to care what I have to say. But they will care what Pep Guardiola has to say. Sheikh Mansour will care what Pep Guardiola has to say. John W. Henry will care what Jordan Henderson has to say. He'll care what James Milner has to say. Because as Jamie Carragher said yesterday, and it's right, if Jurgen Klopp walked out that door at Liverpool tomorrow and said, I don't agree with this, I'm not staying, the fans would rip that club down to bits, and John W. Henry would be out within 24 hours. And he'd be out on a plane, and he'd have been booted onto the plane like one of those old school movie scenes. So it's important that these ex-players, pundits, current players as well, certainly current players and managers of those clubs involved, come out and speak up against this, because they're the players that are going to catch the attention of these horrible, dirty billionaire owners. Ganny Maid says, how many extra titles do we win if the 6 are stripped of their honours? Anyone worked it out? Yeah, 1963 to 64 is one of them. I think somebody worked it out. We'd have something like maybe 8-9 Premier League titles. So that's just the Premier League before you'd even get into before the Premier League. So we'd have a lot. I don't think that'll happen because I just don't think the Premier League would have the bottle to do that. But it'd be a lot. LG just says, cheers, Cameron. This is a disgrace. It certainly is. And Ander says, do you truly believe those teams be kicked out of the Premier League? I don't, mate. I don't because ultimately I think the Premier League understand that they would lose a stupid amount of money, and I ultimately look, the Premier League have come out and they've threatened a lot. They have threatened that they wouldn't be able to play in the Premier League, they'd be kicked out. UEFA have come out and threatened a lot. Those clubs, by the way, it's not even about the Premier League at the moment. The Premier League have come out and condemned it, and rightly so, and Everton have come out and condemned it. But those 6 clubs haven't specifically said they want to leave the Premier League. They've said they want to leave the Champions League, they want to leave UEFA. Now, the Premier League is sticking with UEFA because they've got alliances there, and that's understandable. But those clubs want to continue in the Premier League. So now it's down for the Premier League to say, no, our alliance is with UEFA, and if you want to continue in this league, you have to comply with those alliances, and you have to either continue to play in a European competition that's governed by UEFA, or go and play in your own new Super League elsewhere, and you're not part of us. I don't know. I don't know if UEFA will stick with what they've been saying. I don't know if the Premier League will stick with what they've been saying. I don't know. UEFA, I read today, come through on my phone. I haven't seen it on Twitter though, so I'm not too sure how true it is. But I read before that UEFA are considering allowing the Champions League semi-finals to go ahead as planned. But why? Why? Real Madrid, Florentino Perez has come out and just absolutely turned around and stuck the finger up and said, yeah, we're not part of that anymore, see you later. Chelsea have done the same, Man City have done the same. Why not go out? The Premier League's a different question because, like I said, the clubs haven't officially said they want to leave the Premier League. That just might be what has to happen if this goes ahead. So the Premier League is sitting there, and I understand that they mightn't kick them out because they haven't specifically said they want to leave. But why are UEFA putting up with that? Why don't UEFA just turn around and go, see you later then, PSG, there you go, crown the champions, there you go. And it all boils down to the same common denominator in every single discussion, situation, every single conversation we have. It all boils down to the same common denominator, and that is money. The reason UEFA are even considering allowing the Champions League semi-finals to go on as they are, and not just saying to Madrid, Chelsea and City, do us a favour, see you later, you've turned your back on us, in a bit, ta-da, here's the title to PSG. The reason that they're considering letting them go ahead is because they know the amount of money they'd lose from those 2 semi-finals and the final. So it all boils down to one thing, it's money, and that's why I said that, there's no innocent parties in this. The only innocent party who's been shit on the most is fans. Fans, me, you, Doug, Hernandez, Phil. The only innocent party and sort of party within football is fans. UEFA aren't innocent because they've got a shitload of money as well, and the reason that they haven't done what they've said they might do is because they'll lose a lot of money. If they do it, then fair play to them, they've got the balls to do it, but have they got the balls to do it? Have they got the balls to lose that money? Can they lose that money? Ultimately, I read something yesterday on Twitter, and it was, at the end of the day, what's the common, we're all sitting here, and we're all talking about this Super League, and we're having a little bit of a laugh because we know that Arsenal haven't been a super club for years. I don't think they've ever been a super club in Europe, certainly not in my lifetime, and they've not been a super club in England for years. Tottenham aren't a super club. They haven't won a trophy since 2008. They haven't won a European trophy ever. They're not a super club whatsoever. What's the common denominator with all of these football clubs that have been mentioned, or certainly the majority of them? Barcelona, millions of pounds in debt, hundreds of millions of pounds in debt. There's talk that over the last few weeks or so that they're seriously close to potentially becoming bankrupt. All the stuff about Lionel Messi's contract and how much that's costing them and how much debt that's putting them in. Real Madrid, over £300 million in debt. Florentino Perez come out and has said that himself, that they're over £300 million in debt. Tottenham Hotspur just built a new stadium, millions of pounds in debt. Manchester United, criminally in debt. Again, same as Real Madrid, hundreds of millions of pounds in debt for Manchester United. Liverpool Football Club, potentially in the same amount of debt, just built a new stand. Chelsea, potentially, I don't think Chelsea's all as it is sort of made out to be, though they spend 100 million, they're not in debt, they spend loads of money every summer. I wouldn't believe that. So the common denominator for the majority of these clubs that have agreed to go into this Super League is that they're all in debt by a lot of money. They all need to recoup an awful lot of money because they're bollocksed. because they're in debt massively. So again, that's no coincidence either. And yeah, ultimately, look, I think, like I said, football has gotten to this point, and it was always going to get to this point, and I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. Philip says, as usual, the Prem will do F all. Sprained. Firm says, you alright, lads? I'm good, mate, thanks, I hope you're good. Davis says, superb statement, certainly was, mate, absolutely unbelievable statement by Everton. Gord says, did someone's granddad escape an elderly home to give a TV interview defending the Super League? I haven't seen that interview, mate, to be honest with you. I don't know who you're referring to, but I haven't seen it. Stephen says, throw them out of the Premier League within a few years. The up-and-coming youth will support new teams and the Premier League will go on. Fuck them. Big Nod says, what a statement from the greatest club in the world. Exactly, mate. Dugout Channel says, Cam, there has been a statement from the Premier League. I DM'd you on Twitter. Dan Rowan on Twitter. Thank you very much, mate. Just read that out. Cheers, Doug. Philip says, notable clubs not invited. 4 times winner. Ajax Rangers, the first British club to win the European Cup. Twice winners and founders of the Champions League. There you go, not invited. Why are they not invited? Because it's all about money, mate. It's all about money. It's nothing to do with the biggest clubs in the world. It's nothing to do with the most successful clubs in the world. There you go. Marcus Rashford tweeted out a picture of a banner that says football is nothing without fans. So Marcus Rashford standing up against it. Great to see that. Absolutely necessary, by the way, that players like Marcus Rashford stand up against it. Just Gary Neville saying that he would never agree to be a pundit on the European Super League. I think Jamie Carragher said the same. Where were we? Yeah, spot on. It's all about money, mate. It's not about being the best club or the biggest club or having the best players. It's all about how much money you can bring. Blair says, it's not football's fault if you are losing money, ruining a team in the most popular sport. That's just your incompetence, yeah. Philip says, not fans now, legacy fundraisers, exactly. Jordan says, I don't know why it's so far-fetched to believe that Everton would refuse. We know some clubs have refused, and clubs like Everton listen to their supporters. You're spot on, mate. You're absolutely spot on. Philip says, absolutely, mate, we are Everton. Douglas says, on the first game of the next season, I don't think anyone at Goodison, people will be sitting there. I don't really get that. Blair says, I would not take any excuses if Everton would have agreed to this. This is not about battering fans. It's fans uniting with each other against this BS. Exactly, mate. Exactly. I'm 100% with you on that one. Philip says, why the fuck Spurs classed? Liam says, the duck points, make sure we have the 4 new Champions League teams next season. Then we'll see a wealth of football finally filter down the pyramid. By the way, Farhad is a blue through and through. And Jab says, kick them out of the league. Points deducted isn't enough. Yeah, no, I agree. And ultimately, we know that certainly I think Liverpool and Manchester United, and I assume the other clubs, the other 4 clubs that have agreed to this have left UEFA anyway, so they wouldn't be able to compete in the Champions League next season. They wouldn't be able to compete in the Europa League. So again, if they've left UEFA, what is their motivation now to finish this? What's Liverpool's motivation to go on and finish the league strongly? They drew to Leeds last night. What's Manchester United's motivation? What's City's motivation if they've left UEFA anyway? City might be to win the league, but if they're going to leave the Premier League, what's that motivation for? What's Chelsea's motivation in this race for top 4 now? What's Tottenham's? What's Arsenal's? Because it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because they're not going to be playing in the UEFA competitions anyway, because they're going to be playing in their brand spanking new brilliant Super League, aren't they? So yeah, it is. It's difficult. It's shocking. Jordan says, bottom line is, irrespective of the moral right versus wrong argument, this is highly against the rules. Why the rules? If you break them, and that's the mentality of an ignoramus who doesn't know the game. The popularity of the sport has grown immensely. Philip says, there's no chance whatsoever they'll kick anyone out. Blas says, I agree, these teams should be kicked from the league, they're rigging it for everyone. And Liam says, whoever gave this a thumbs down, show yourself and explain what you think is wrong in this vid. I've never met anyone that's for this yet. There you go, mate, there you go. Well, I can't see the thumbs down, I can only see the thumbs up. But if you're not enjoying it, please do leave a like. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Anyway, yeah, let's get back into some of the discussions about it. Ultimately, like I said before, this has been coming. It's been coming for a long time. Football has had far too much money in it for far too long. Football has been far too money orientated for far too long. And those organisations and companies that are against this are partly to blame for the reason that these billionaire owners have been allowed to step in and do what they've done. Sky Sports can go on and have their moral high ground and talk about how it's disgraceful and this, that, the other. Sky Sports are pumping hundreds of millions of pounds into the Premier League every year. Sky Sports religiously for the last 6, 7, 8 years have been absolutely adamant on selling this dream of the top 6 and the top 6 clubs and the fight for the top 6 and the big 6. The reason it's called the big 6 is because of the fact that people like Sky and BT have labelled it that. Us as fans haven't labelled the big 6 as the big 6. Tottenham Hotspur aren't the big 6. Arsenal aren't the big 6. They haven't been good for years. Why are they still in the big 6? Because that's what those television companies are talking about year in, year out. And I'm not saying that they're to blame for the European Super League. I'm saying that they're to blame for creating this mentality that these billionaire owners have stepped in, none the wiser to how football works or football history, and just gone, oh, well, the big 6 is, everyone talks about it, everyone seems to like it, everyone lamps it up, so we'll just go and invest loads of money, take them away and start a new league. It's disgraceful. So I honestly can't see football being the same. I can't see 100 million transfers going ahead now. I can't see players being paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. I just can't see it, because ultimately all of that is a factor in what this is. The Premier League, they could have blocked John W. Henry taking over from Liverpool. They could have blocked the Glazers taking over from Manchester United. They could have blocked Roman Abramovich from taking over at Chelsea. They didn't. Now, I reckon, and I'm not just saying this, I'm a 22-year-old Everton fan who works in business admin, and I'm not qualified to talk about football. All as I know football for is Everton, and my opinions on Everton, and my opinions on what Everton are doing. I reckon I could sit down with any human being on this world, talk about football, and within 5 minutes I'd know if they actually had a clue about football or not, if they actually knew about the history of the sport, if they actually knew about the importance of football clubs to fans and winning to fans and promotion and relegation and the highs and the lows. I reckon it'd take me less than 5 minutes to figure out with any human being on this world whether they understand this sport. Honest to God. And I'm just Cameron, 22 years old, supports Everton and does business admin. I'm not a leader in UEFA. I'm not a leader in FIFA. I'm not an ex-player. I'm not an ex-manager. I'm not a current manager or player. I'm just a fan who supports Everton. I don't support the Premier League. I don't support football. I support Everton. And I reckon it'd take me less than 5 minutes to sit down with any human being on this planet, and within 5 minutes I'd be able to say, yeah, you get what it means, you understand football, you're in it for the right reasons. But that wasn't part of the conversation when those billionaire owners come in to take over these clubs. All it was how much money are you bringing in? And as soon as those figures were named, and as soon as it was hundreds of millions, maybe even billions, blah blah blah, that's all it was. The eyes lit up then. That was all it was about, was money. Not what's your interests, what you want to do with this football club. Do you know much about the history of Liverpool? Do you know much about the Premier League? Do you know much about the history of Manchester United? Do you know much about the Busby Babes? Do you know much about who built Manchester United, why it was built? It's a working class club. Not any of that. Just how much money are you bringing in? Oh yeah, we're bringing in hundreds of millions. Sound, go through the door. You can do that. Have you murdered anyone? No, never murdered anyone. Are you into anything illegal? No, not an illegal. All right, yeah, you can go through the door. I guarantee you those conversations when those people took over those football clubs, however many years ago it was, none of it was regarding actual football and the sport and the history of the sport and the trophies that these clubs have won and the history of these clubs. I can guarantee you none of it. None of that conversation between the Premier League and those owners were to do with football. It was all about money, how much money they're bringing in, how much money they're going to spend, and how big they're going to make this platform to ultimately bring in more money. And now it's come back to bite the Premier League on its arse. It seriously has come back to bite the Premier League on its arse, because now these billionaire owners have gone, actually, we said that we were going to bring 200 million into the Premier League, and they said, yes, sound, there's the door, but we've found out we could make 700 million playing in our own little league, so let's go and do that. It's biting them on the arse, and that's why the Premier League are so disgusted, by the way. Yes, they can say all along about how they're disgusted that it goes against the models of football and the models of the history of the sport. They're not. They're disgusted because they're going to lose out on shitloads of money. That's why. That's why they haven't deducted points. That's why they haven't kicked them out. If they honestly cared about the history of the sport and football as a sport and us football fans and the football pyramid, then as soon as that statement was announced on Sunday night, the Premier League had come out and said, right, we're docking every single one of those teams 25 points and you're being automatically relegated into the lower divisions. If you want to go and make your own league, that's sound, but having the sheer audacity to even suggest it, you're going into the lower divisions, you can build your way up. But they didn't do that. Why didn't they do that? Ask yourself this question. Why didn't the Premier League deduct points on Sunday night? Why have they still not deducted points? Why haven't UEFA kicked those teams out the semi-finals of the Champions League officially yet? They're threatening it. It's all good, threatening it. I can sit here now on this live stream to 64 people. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved. By the way, if you're enjoying, leave a like. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you agree with what I'm saying and you could subscribe, it would mean a massive amount to me. Share the stream as well. Let's get as many people involved as possible. I could sit here now and say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to get a Mackey's for my tea. And if people keep commenting, if people throw loads of, I don't know, M's in the comments, I'm going to get a Mackey's for my tea. I'm definitely going to get a Mackey's for my tea. I know I'm getting a Mackey's for my tea. But ultimately, unless I go and do it, none of it matters. Doesn't matter what I say. Doesn't matter what I threaten. Doesn't matter if I say, I'm definitely getting a McDonald's for my tea. If I then shut this live team off and go, I'm going to make a pasta for me tea. None of it matters. Now, the reason as to why points haven't been deducted yet, the reason as to why these clubs have been allowed to do what they're doing is because they know they're going to get away with it. Because the Premier League know that, Luke puts an M in the chat, nice one Luke, the Premier League know that they would lose that much money. So that's why there's uproar within the Premier League. That's why there's uproar within these big organisations. Not because of the history of football. It's because they know, shit, we're going to lose a shitload of money here. Because if it was because of the history of football, they'd have made the statement straight away, UEFA, and gone, PSG are the champions of the Champions League. Those clubs are being banned. They'll never play in UEFA again. In the Premier League, they're gone, bang, 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 all deducted points. See you later. You aren't playing in the Premier League again for the sheer audacity of it. Don't bullshit us. Don't bullshit us and come out and say, I agree with everything the Premier League have said. By the way, I agree with every statement the Premier League have said. I agree with every statement UEFA said. I'm not saying I disagree with it. What I'm saying is I don't believe that what they're saying is what they actually believe, to be honest with you. Otherwise, they'd act. As El Tuto says, if the Premier League does not act now, they're leaving room for speculation. Act now. Exactly. I can imagine John W. Henry, Roman Abramovich, who's the other fools? Joel Glazer, Stan Kroenke are all sitting there now, probably with their feet up on the couch, smoking a cigar, thinking, go on, do something. Because they know they've backed those, UEFA and the Premier League into a corner. Do something, kick us out the league, deduct us points, do it. I can almost feel and see the arrogance of those owners because they know that nothing is likely to happen to them, although it should happen. Nothing is likely to happen, and it's us as fans, it's us, the everyday working class man and woman who have built this sport up to what it is today. It's us who are suffering at the end of it. It's our game. We care about the history of the sport. We care about grassroots. We care about the league history and titles and how many titles your club have won and how big your club is and where you've been and what you've come from and how you built the stadiums. We care about that. They don't care about that. They aren't arsed. They aren't interested. They're just interested about how much money we've got. And the footballing associations have let it get to this. Absolutely. If you were to say to me now, Cam, right, football changes forever. No team can make a transfer over 10 million and no player can be played over $5,000 a week, I'd say fucking brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because that brings football right down to the sheer basics of it, which is the sport, fighting to win, avoiding relegation, the elation of winning, the frustration of losing, the sadness of losing, the sadness of being relegated, the happiness of being promoted, the footballing ladder. It would bring it right down to that because money wouldn't be a conversation starter. That isn't football. The reason this Super League is being discussed, the reason it's going ahead is because all of those organisations have allowed so much money to be involved in football for so long, and now it's biting everyone on the arse. And it's disgusting because it's us as fans, it's us who have built this game up, it's us who have, it's us who pay our money, who buy the shirt. I've bought a shirt now. That's why I'm so proud to be an Evertonian today, because if it was Everton, I wouldn't be wearing this shirt. If Everton were involved in this, every shirt I had, I don't know whether I'd bin it because there's a lot of money, but every shirt, no, in fact I probably would have bin it. I would never wear it. And I certainly would never put more money into Everton Football Club again if they were part of those clubs. That's why I feel so proud to be an Evertonian today, because I knew Everton wouldn't let us down. I knew Everton would make us proud. I knew Everton would say what we all were all thinking, and they have done that, and they've done it brilliantly. But like I said, they don't care. They simply don't care. And as much as obviously we're all on UEFA's side, we're all on the Premier League side, we're all on the side of those that don't want this to happen, I don't think they escape blame. I really don't, because ultimately this has happened because of how much money is being put in football, and they've allowed billionaires with no interest in the sport, no interest in the history of the sport, no interest in the fans, pure just interest in money, to come in and take over. Why? They might have blagged that, oh yeah, we love football, we've been watching football for you. You haven't, mate, you haven't. Well, like I said, 5 minutes. I could have sat down with any of those owners and it would have taken me 5 minutes, and I'd go, you haven't got a clue about football. Maybe not now, because they've been in football for that long, but when they walked through that door and said, I want to buy Chelsea, I want to buy United, I want to buy Liverpool, 5 minutes it would have taken me to sit down with them, and I'd have gone, nah, you don't have a fucking clue, mate. You don't understand the history of that club, you don't understand the history of this league. But yeah, like I said, all as I can say from behalf on the point of an Evertonian is I am so incredibly proud today to be an Evertonian. I'm so incredibly proud to support the club I support, because not only are we a leader in the English League and the Football League, not only are we one of the founding members, but we're also 100 years later haven't allowed ourselves to become what those clubs are. We haven't allowed ourselves to become a money orientated, only care about the money club. We've stuck to our roots. We've continued to constantly constantly refer to our history, and we've, as a football club, and big up Farhad Moshiri, by the way, big up Farhad Moshiri, because Farhad Moshiri is a billionaire. Farhad Moshiri wasn't an Everton fan growing up. He's a billionaire who took over Everton Football Club, and our football club could have quite easily gone the way of those 6 football clubs that have decided to get up and get off if we'd have employed the wrong owner. We could be sitting in this situation talking about how disgusted we are with Everton, but we didn't. We employed Farhad Moshiri, who understands and who knows exactly what it is to be an Everton fan and to be a member of this football club. Even Bill Kenwright, who gets pelters constantly by Evertonians, don't really understand why, but Bill Kenwright, who constantly gets pelters, he will have been, I remember growing up 10 or 15 years ago, there was a number of people who wanted to invest into Everton, and Bill Kenwright turned it down. And Evertonians, we couldn't see this coming, so we all jumped on, Evertonians all jumped on the, I was a bit young at that time, why isn't Bill Kenwright selling? He's selfish, sell up. If you love the club, sell up, blah, 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 blah. Why didn't Bill Kenwright sell up? Because he probably done what I've just said and sat down with those people, and within 5 minutes went, you haven't got the best interest of this football club at heart. So, if Bill Kenwright had turned down 15 billionaires 10 years ago, and those billionaires, if any one of those billionaires would have taken over this football club, we'd have been involved in that European Super League, then we'd all be sitting here saying, why are we part of that? Why does our owner not care about us? But he didn't. He waited until the right owner come in, who cared about the football club, and who understood the fans, and who understand the history, and who understand what it means to be a football fan, and what Everton means to us as fans. And like I said, I applaud Bill Kenwright for that. I really do. Because as much as it might have been difficult during those times, and as much as we all might have said, just sell the club, Bill, we want to be one of these big teams, we want to spend all this money, why can't we be like Chelsea, why can't we be like City? Well, does anyone want to be like Chelsea and City now? No, even City and Chelsea fans don't want to be like their clubs now. They don't want to be involved, they don't want to be attached to the owners of that club. Not the club itself, because the club itself is their club, and quite rightly so, and it'll always be their club. But the owners of that club, they don't want to be attached with. Something's got to change. Whether this goes ahead or not, said it yesterday, something's got to change. And every single one of these 6 owners of these football clubs needs to go. And he should never be allowed to own a football club ever again. And maybe there needs to be a serious, vigorous, safer recruitment process when the Premier League are accepting big money billionaires in to take over football clubs. And yeah, listen, if I had my choice, fuck the money off. No money involved in footy. Players get paid a certain level, $5,000 a week, which is still ridiculous. Clubs can only spend $1 million on transfers or whatever, and just shear it down right to the basics of football. And if your superstar players don't want to play, then see you later, mate. Go and play on Mars with Elon Musk and bloody John W. Henry and Joel Glazer. But I can guarantee you the majority of footballers would go, no, you know what? I know it would never work because they've got mortgages and they've spent all this money and they have to keep that up. Now, we've gone past the point of no return with football, really, because as much as we might want what I've just said to happen, where money just gets drained out of football and it's back to the basics, it will never happen because the players have been allowed to spend what they've earned and the clubs have been allowed to spend what and clubs are in that much debt to the banks and to the countries that it would never happen. It's only, unfortunately, it's only going to rise. The money in football is only going to keep going up, and clubs are only going to get more and more in debt, and players are only going to get paid more and more, and clubs are only going to spend more and more. It's only going to rise. It'll never ever come back down, because if it come back down, the sport it just destroy, because clubs wouldn't be able to sustain themselves, and players, I'd like to think players would say, no, you know what, I'd play for an average wage. I know for, I've always said this growing up, and people might sit in there thinking, oh, you're talking bollocks. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. Only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you could share the stream, it would mean a great deal. But I know as an Everton fan now, if I got a call, if Carlo Ancelotti fucking phoned me now and went, Cam, we've had 15 new injuries in the squad, which I wouldn't put it past us, to be fair. How much do we have to pay you to come and be a member of this squad? I'd say nothing, firstly. But if I was a footballer and Everton, and I played for Everton, I'd take 1,500 quid a month to play for Everton. 1,500 quid a month, by the way, not 1,500 quid a week, 1,500 quid a month. I would take a wage that is sustainable to live on and play for Everton week in, week out. It would be a dream to me. I'd play for Everton for free if I could do other things to make me money. If I had to completely focus on Everton, I'd take the bare minimum to keep me going to play for Everton Football Club. And I know not every football fan, and I know that's a silly scenario because that's not football and that's not the world that we live in. But why isn't that the world that we live in? Why aren't we living in a world where footballers get paid to do what they do? We live in such a ridiculous world, and a lot of people have said this before, and I don't want to get into politics or the world or whatever, but this society is fucked. It's absolutely fucked. It really, really is. There's people out there, doctors, nurses, that are saving lives. We're in a global pandemic. There will have been hundreds of thousands, if not millions of doctors and nurses and blah over the last 12 months who have worked 10, 12 hours, 5, 6 times a week, and they're being refused a pay rise by certain governments, by certain people, and even taking away the refused pay rise, they're not even paid a fraction of what Marcus Rashford earns. And he's a bad example because he does a lot for charity, but they're not even paid a fraction of what Kylian Mbappe earns in an hour for all of their work that they do every month. We just live in it does me head in. It really, really does me head in, because no one can change it. We can't change it. We seriously can't change it. Like Stefan says, it might not come down, but it could still be capped. It has to be capped, mate. It has to be capped. Something has to be done. Now, it'll never come down, but something has to be done. It has to be capped. If we can't bring the money in football down to where it should be, then we need to stop it rising again, because it's only going to rise. If nothing's changed, it's only going to rise. But like I said, this society just does my head in, mate. The world that we live in it's bollocks. It's gone. It's absolutely gone. It really, really has. And like I said, that saying of the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and that football banner we spoke about yesterday, that I'm sure a lot of you have seen the pictures of, which states football created by the poor, stolen by the rich. That's not just, you don't just apply that to football, that's applied to the world. That's applied to society in this day and age. It's a worldwide problem. What we're seeing now in football, the European Super League, is a representation of the society that we live in today. We can ignore it all we like, and we can shy over it all we like, and I'm sure tonight, everybody watching this live stream, including me, I'll probably go and lash a film on with Brad Pitt in, who gets paid 50 million to be in a film. I'll probably lash that on. And we'll probably walk past some poor fella on the street who's sleeping rough, who hasn't got a penny or a roof over his head, or can't eat, and we'll probably walk past him, and I'll say, I feel sorry for him, yeah, or I might give him a couple of quid. But 10-20 minutes later, we'll forget about it and we'll go on with our day, and we'll probably go, oh, can't wait to watch the next series of that programme with that very, very highly paid actor in. it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's sickening, and it makes me want to burst out in tears, if I'm being honest with you. It really does, because I've only been on this planet for 22 years. 22 years I've been on this planet. I don't know what it was like in the 80s. I don't know what it was like in the 70s. I don't know how long this has been an issue for. This might have been an issue for 100 years. I don't know that, because, again, I know a bit of history on it, but I don't know exactly how everybody was feeling 50 years ago about this. But it's disgusting, and we all play our part in it. And like I said, I'm not appealing to be innocent. I will probably go out into town over the next 2 days or so and walk past 10, 15, 20 people that are sleeping rough, and I don't know their situation, so I wouldn't judge their situation, but that are sleeping rough, that haven't got a pot to piss in, and haven't got anything to eat or anywhere to sleep or a roof over their head. And I'll probably walk past them, and yes, I might feel sorry for them for 5 minutes. Yeah, I might give them a couple of quid, but I can guarantee you, half an hour later, that's out my mind, and I'm probably thinking, yeah, I can't wait to go home and watch that television programme with those 15 actors that are paid more money than I'll ever make in my life, that I'll ever be able to see in my life. Why are they paid it? To play somebody else on the telly? Yeah. It is, and the reason I say that isn't just because I'm going on a mad rant about society and capitalism and stuff. The reason I say that is because all of that I've just mentioned can be implemented into this conversation that we're having about the European Super League. It is all the same thing, that those billionaire owners do not care about the smaller clubs that are struggling at the moment. They do not care about the difficulties that they go through. They do not care about the history of them. All they care about is money. And yeah. Like I said, as a fan of Everton Football Club, I'm so immensely proud today. So immensely proud. Because honestly, it's again, we could have been, like I said, we could have been one of those clubs. I don't think we ever would have been, but that's so easy to say, because I'm sure there'll be Liverpool fans watching this. I'm sure there'll be Arsenal fans. I'm sure there'll be Man United fans who would have said the same thing 4 days ago. They'd have said, oh, we wouldn't be one of them clubs. I'm absolutely certain that Everton weren't to be that, and we're not that. And it makes me so immensely proud that we're not that. And not just the fact that we're not that. Yeah, it's great in itself that Everton didn't join it or didn't agree to it, blah blah blah. That's brilliant. It is. And if Everton would have just come out and made a statement and said, yeah, we're not happy with that, we wouldn't join it, but yeah, and it would have been short, I'd have gone, yeah, you know what, good that Everton aren't happy with it, good that Everton don't agree with it, yeah. But it's the viciousness of the statement, how serious it is, how much that statement, you know, sort of resides with fans, football fans across the world. That statement isn't just for Evertonians, by the way. Let's read some of it again in detail. 6 clubs acting entirely in their own interest. 6 clubs tarnishing the reputation of our league and the game. 6 clubs choosing to disrespect every other club with whom they sit around the Premier League table. 6 clubs taking for granted and even betraying the majority of football supporters across the country and beyond. At this time, in a national and international crisis and in a defining period for our game, clubs should be working together collaboratively with the ideas of our game and its supporters uppermost. Instead, these clubs have been secretly conspiring to break away from a football pyramid that has served them so well. That isn't just Everton speaking about Evertonians. That isn't just Everton speaking about, us as a football club and the fact that we wouldn't get involved in it. That's Everton talking for everybody, for all football fans across the world, in what we're all feeling at the moment. And like I said, I'm not claiming that Everton are completely innocent in this. Everton have had to spend hundreds of millions of pounds to keep up with the competition in this Premier League, and it's not right. It's not right. It's sickening. And it is, and like I said, we all take part in this. We all jump around and scream around and are made up when Everton sign a player for 30, 40, 50, 60 million pounds. But then we see on the news that these nurses and doctors who get paid buttons are saving lives every single day, working 12 hours, 14 hours a day, and are getting paid, what, £1,000 a month, which is, most of the time, isn't even enough to pay their rent. They're living on scraps. It's disgusting, and the society that we live in is disgusting, to be honest, and we can't change it, and it'll never change. It'll never, ever, ever change, and unfortunately for us, it'll only get worse. But yeah. like I said, the reason I brought all of that up is because what's happening in football is just a direct representation of society, the society that we live in. That's all it is. Even from the we will get back in the comments in a moment, by the way, but even just from the point of franchising and football clubs becoming more and more sort of like for an entertainment reason. We spoke about football going towards a WWE-esque style where this Super League will be that. No winners, no losers, just pure entertainment. Probably have bloody Stone Cold bouncing on at half-time and giving a stunner to the referee if he's made a bad decision. Philip, by the way, just before we get into the comments, has donated £10 to this team. Thank you very much, Phil, honestly. Really, really do appreciate it, mate. That means a great, great deal to me, honestly. It really, really does. Thank you very much. But yeah, like I said, even donations, sponsorships and stuff, I feel bad accepting them. I feel bad people donating. I feel bad taking it because there's people in there that need it more than me. I feel awful. Thank you very much, Phil. Of course, I'm completely grateful for it. It means a massive, massive amount to me. But yeah, it's I can't remember what I was going to say. I was going to say something about, I don't know if you've seen that video. There's a video of a Liverpool fan, and he was talking about, it was years ago, it was about 4 or 5 years ago, he was talking about the new main stand at Anfield, and he was talking about how basically football is just corporate now. He said, you don't want to be going to a football match and having salt and pepper chips at half time. You don't want to be going to a football match and spending £100 on a ticket so they wheel some ex-player out to talk for 5 minutes before the game. You want to go to a football match to get curry and chips from the chippy after it, stand and scream and shout your head off and support your team. That's what football is. Football isn't about getting a 3-course meal at half time. As nice as that might be, that's not what football is about. Football isn't about paying £200 for a single ticket for the game. Football isn't about being priced out of going and watching your local club. Football was made and football was created for the working class people to go and support their local clubs for next to nothing and do it in the fashion that we all know and love. Standing on the terraces, screaming your head off, everybody screaming and shouting and loving it. That's why football was created, not so that you pay £150 for the ticket and you get a little plate of fucking nachos or some shit. That's not what football is. As much as that might be what society is, and that might be what we like, again, if Goodison sold salt and pepper chips, I'd probably get some, to be honest, because I like salt and pepper chips, and I think, you know what, Everton are playing poorly, so I'll get some salt and pepper chips. But that's not football, is it? Let's be honest, it's not football, and that Liverpool fan, I'm sure you've all seen the video, was spot on. Philip says get a burger for the homeless person cam. I will next time I'm in and around, and I will definitely, but I won't be doing it just to say, oh, I've done it. But yeah, like I said, it's society, isn't it? Because Phil, even though everybody agrees with what's being said, and even though everybody, well, I think everybody agrees, even though everybody probably does the same thing and maybe feels sorry for them and maybe, buys those unfortunate, the people that unfortunately can't sort of fund even meals for themselves, even though we might help out a little bit, we'll never solve the issue. Yeah. Anyway, Jedi says, I worked at Anfield for the month. The atmosphere was corporate. I worked as a chef serving vegan food, gourmet burgers, stew, fried chicken. More of a hotel I left because working there angered me. There you go. And it's not just Liverpool. It's not just Anfield. It's not Goodison, because Goodison Park is an old-fashioned stadium. And that's one thing that I just hope Everton don't do with Bramley-Moore. I'm not saying that there won't be any corporate seats, because there's corporate seats at Goodison and you get meals and you get a menu. But I just hope that Bramley-Moore is more, what we know as football fans and what football is rather than corporate. Kelly says it's the Sheeps. Wormy says, nah, Phil will be helping Mackies. They are worse than Tottenham. El Tudor says, I agree, I was being sarcastic, but I forgot my top 6. James says, could never imagine no Merseyside derby, mate. Yeah, it'd be strange. It'll be strange, to tell you that. Gary says, Boris Johnson can F off too. I don't want him on our side. He's just an opportunist who doesn't give 2 fucks about football or supporters. Stevie says, really hope I can go to Goodison Park one day, man, for that matter. Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. It's a truly amazing stadium. James says, spot on, Cam. El Tudor says, you will not be remembered to the top 6. Let them leave. Together we are stronger. Michael says, funny, isn't it? These clubs can pay millions to join this league, 70+ million transfers, yet they can't pay to improve their local communities or help the homeless. Embarrassing, and yet capitalism. Yeah, and that's why I'm so proud to be an Evertonian, so proud, because not only do Everton have Everton said we're never joining that, and it's a complete nonsense. But Everton also are a club that, you know, obviously help out in the local community and get involved in all of that. So it's just another reason to be proud to be a Blue, isn't it, really? May says HH is now an ESL supporter. He says adapt or get left behind. Some people have no shame. Who's HH? Maybe I'm missing the initials there. I'm really trying to figure out who HH is. Why was Horrid Henry the first thing that comes to my head? It's Horrid Henry, a Super League supporter. Kaylee says Lightning Ace or Super Skulls on the line. Jedi says Jedi says the media turns up against each other, divide and rule, need to look past the news. Jordan says we would have chased out our owner. We almost burned down Goodison for Nike ruining the badge. Yeah, we would have chased out the owner, and I hope that fans of those other clubs do very, very similar. But like I said, imagine Everton were one of those clubs. I don't think I could sit here, to be honest, with the badge behind me. I'd have to just sit here with a plain background. Matthew says, I would love to see footy fans unite around this. Manx and Scouts are together to crush this nonsense. Absolutely. Jedi says, all this money going around in the Super League and we can't send money to Yemen or help the homeless more. Luke says, yes, Hernandez says, grab that homeless person some food from Mackey's when you go later on. I will if I go, mate. I will if I go. James says, hope you're well, Cam. Utmost respect for our owner, speaking out, love our club. Exactly, mate. Kaylee says, points deducted now. West Ham or Leicester might win the league, and even us, but top four could be a guarantee due to those shitbag clubs. I agree. What the Premier League simply have to do, and again, I said it before, it boils down to money. Ultimately, HHs have hope, a Chelsea fan channel. Oh, there you go. HHs have hope, he's a Chelsea YouTuber. Someone said Hulk Hogan. Bear Barrack says, Manchester City completely rebuilt downtown Manchester. That statement is a complete lie. Yeah, I know Manchester City do a lot for the community as well. But yeah, what was I going to say? Again, why haven't the Premier League come out and punished these clubs? Why haven't UEFA come out and punished these clubs yet? It's all good sitting in a press conference saying, oh, we will do this, we will do that, we might do this, we might do that. Do it then. They've walked away from your league. They've very literally shit on everything, every model that football is, everything that football stands for, everything that football was built on. Don't threaten the punishment. Actually go ahead with the punishment. Do it. Michael says, I don't want to get political, but it worries me that people, less so Scousers, have finally seen how greedy and evil capitalism is only due to football. Well, yeah, like I said, it's a representation of society, mate, and it was always going to happen as soon as you know, as May says, sorry, I'm just venting, very disappointed. No, keep venting, 100%. I don't know who he is. I don't know what the channel is. I'm not familiar with it. But yeah. Yeah, look, again, like I said, this was always going to happen with the money in football, with the amount of money in football, with the billions of pounds worth of player wages, billions of pounds worth of player transfers, agent fees. I mean, fucking hell. People get paid to do fuck all, don't they? So much money to do fuck all in football these days. Jesus Christ. And yet, Arsenal have got the cheek to go and make 55 of their staff redundant to say they haven't got enough money to pay the dinosaur or whatever he is, mascot, but they're going and joining the Super League behind it. It's disgraceful. Jordan says, summer workers of the world unite around the world. Premier League clubs have rejected the Super League plans. I don't think it matters, to be honest. I don't think they care about what the Premier League say. Philip says, something you don't know about me. I had COVID January 2020. I was 3 months in Aintree Hospital, 2 months in the ICU on a ventilator. I should be dead. My life was saved by dedicated nurses and doctors. There you go. That's Phil, an Evertonian who joined these streams every single day. I didn't know that about you, Phil. Yeah, those nurses and doctors who worked endless amounts of hours, not just to, you know, keep Phil alive, but to keep the other thousands of people that were suffering from the pandemic and still are suffering from the pandemic, probably get paid, what? I don't know, £1,200 a month. Most of that goes on bills, house, food, council tax, TV licence. And yeah, footballers kick a ball about for a little bit. Yeah, I get that they've got to be dedicated and they've got to sacrifice a lot, but there's a difference between being dedicated and sacrificing a lot and getting paid a stupid amount of money, and being dedicated and sacrificing a lot like nurses and doctors and getting paid, you know, ridiculously low amounts of money. Adam says, wars have been fought over less than this. Yeah. Luke says, Vin Diesel got paid crazy amounts to say I am Groot about 4 times. That's what I mean. It's mad, isn't it? I didn't even know that was Vin Diesel leader, to be honest with you. Matthew says, is this what it takes for people to start thinking about socialism? Football starts the revolution. William says, yep, Cam, hypercapitalism sucks. Georgia says, you speak the truth, our society is crumbling. Sombrero says, Cam is talking so much sense, I'm about to die, cheers, mate. Jody says, off topic, but yeah, girls make more money than nurses. OnlyFans, this society is corrupt. Well, you know, and again, I respect anyone that does OnlyFans, and you do what you want to do. And that's fair enough. But, again, it's mad, isn't it? It's mad. The world's mad. Stefan says it might not come down, but it could still be capped. Yeah, we spoke about that. Tube says, big up from the Philippines. Cam, up the F and Toffees, come on you Blues. Hell no to the Super League. Exactly. Jordan says, Everton, aren't we? We are. Adam, she says, apparently Henderson's called the meeting of all Premier League captains. First time I'll be saying, come on, Hendo. Phillips says, I'll volunteer to clear the stands. Jedi says, born up manufactured. Cambro, you're absolutely spot on. Clap. Phillips says, clap blue. Gord says, Prem having a salary cap. That's another American idea, lol. Yeah, but maybe what's needed. If you're enjoying, by the way, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, don't forget. Rival says, I think he thinks Jose was sacked because he disagreed with it. I think he walked, personally. Fernando says, even the Glazers have come out and already said they don't want to leave the league, but would play lesser teams to solely focus on the Super League. That waters down the entire sport. Exactly, mate. Jada says, I think we are better off without them. I hate the top six. The top six bias, that's blatant. And when they come back, they just divine right to a game for the top six unbearable teams, to be honest. Yeah. Look, Matt says, Cam, where are the glasses gone? I took them off because they react with the green screen and they make all sorts of mad stuff. Adam said, have you seen Wolves' bio, 18-19 Premier League champions? I have seen it. I think it's quite good, to be honest. Fair play to Wolves for doing that. Michael says, I respect OnlyFans creators. They're hated by the rich because they've made money on their own terms and haven't been pulled into the version of society which keeps us poor and them rich YouTubers too. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. But yeah, look. Got a little bit deep there, didn't we? Got into socialism, got into capitalism, got into money and society. Ultimately, the bottom line of this live stream is that my football club, our football club, Everton Football Club, have come out and quite rightly condemned those plans for a European Super League. Let me read that statement again because, I want an excuse to read that statement again because I think it needs to be read. They have said that Everton is saddened and disappointed to see the proposals of a breakaway league pushed forward by 6 clubs. 6 clubs acting entirely in their own interest. 6 clubs tarnishing the reputation of our league and the game. 6 clubs choosing to disrespect every other club with whom they sit around the Premier League table. 6 clubs taking for granted and even betraying the majority of football supporters across our country and beyond. At this time of national and international crisis and a defining period for our game, clubs should be working together collaboratively with the ideas of our game and its supporters uppermost. Instead, these clubs have been secretly conspiring to break away from a football pyramid that has served them so well for years. And in that pyramid, Everton salutes every club, be it Leicester City, Accrington Stanley, Gillingham, Lincoln City, Morecambe, Southend United and Notts County and the rest who have, with their very being, enriched the lives of their supporters throughout the game's history and vice versa. The self-proclaimed Super Six appear intent on disenfranchising supporters across the game, including their own, by putting the very structure that underpins the game we love under threat. The backlash is understandable and deserved and has to be listened to. This preposterous arrogance is not wanted anywhere in football outside of the clubs that have drafted this plan. On behalf of everybody associated with Everton, we respectfully ask that the proposals are immediately withdrawn and the private meetings and subversive practices that have brought our beautiful game to possibly its lowest ever position in terms of trust end now. Finally, we ask that owners and the owners, chairman and the board members of those 6 clubs to remember the privileged position they hold, not only as custodians of their clubs but also custodians of the game. The responsibility they carry should be taken seriously. We urge them all to consider what they wish their legacy to be. And that is what I would call a strong statement by Everton Football Club on this current subject, and a statement that we all echo. Farhad Moshiri, Everton's major shareholder, come out and dismissed any nonsense rumours that Everton would go into it if they were asked, and he said no, Everton would never go into it. Matt says, Cam, do you feel like if Everton had an American owner with American links, we'd have gotten an invite? Maybe. And maybe that's the reason why, Everton, Bill Kenwright didn't want to sell Everton at those times previously. Adam, she says, spirit of the Blues. Stephen says, here. Mace, it is the shameful 6, you're right, and Ambrose is self-proclaimed to be top person in the world. Yeah, there you go. I self-proclaim to be a strong man. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, look, Stephen says, I will join you as second for the fee. There you go. Look, we'll finish it up there then. Again, massive thank you for joining us. If you've joined us live, I really do appreciate it. James Rodriguez, it's not the club, it's the owners. I know Everton have had a little bit, people are maybe a little bit unhappy about the way it's worded. Obviously, I think they're talking about the owners of those clubs itself rather than the club, because the club is the fans, and the fans aren't involved in this whatsoever. If you've enjoyed this one, Blair says 36 cares, 680 is 6, yeah. Please do leave a like. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I know I can see a lot of new faces around as well. So if you are new, please do subscribe. Apparently Luca Dean's tweeted about fans as well. Brilliant. Exactly what we need. Footballers coming out and speaking about this and talking about this issue. Jedi says, thank you, Cam. Keep your head up, mate. Cheers, Jedi. Really appreciate that. Hernandez says, strong man, Cam. Well done, mate. Cheers, mate. Really appreciate that. Sign-on says, you sound like a goat. I don't know whether you mean a goat as in a greatest of all time or a goat as in an animal, but I'll take either one. But yeah, big thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a like. We'll be back again over the next couple of days with more live streams. I'm sure we'll be talking more about this issue as well. But how proud are we all to be an Evertonian today? Up the fucking Toffees. The originals. 1878. Nil Satis Nizzy Optimum. How proud are we all today to support the football club that we support? It's the greatest club in the world. It might necessarily be the best team in the world. It might be the best players in the world, but it's the greatest club in the world, and I will argue that point until I breathe my last breath with any football fan on this planet. Luke says, great team, lads. Not just Everton. Big applause to every other football club that's coming out and talking talking about this, talking against this, and all of the players and the fans that are talking against this as well. And Ross says, Cam, just taking this chance to tell you have a talent for this. Hope you get more subs. Cheers, mate. Really appreciate that. Raymond says, I don't let him have a Super League. It was going to watch. Tyron says, you are a GOAT, greatest of all time. Cheers, mate. And Adam C says, no sadness is the optimum. Big thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. It's our team, it's our club, and how proud are we to be an Evertonian today. Big thanks for watching. We'll be back over the next couple of days with another one. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.